Elvis Presley was crying when Muhammad Ali knocked on the door of Graceland at 3 in the morning. Not dramatically, not the kind of crying that came with sound or explanation. Just silent tears running down his face as he sat alone in the jungle room, staring at a television with no sound, watching a younger version of himself perform on The Ed Sullivan Show. That boy on the screen, 21 years old, dangerous, electric, looked like a stranger. Elvis didn't know when he'd lost him, only that he was gone. The house around him was silent. Earlier, the Memphis Mafia had finally dispersed to their rooms, their laughter fading down hallways, leaving Elvis alone the way he always ended up alone. The show in Vegas had ended 6 hours ago. 2 performances, 4,000 people, standing ovations that felt increasingly mechanical, like obligations the audience was fulfilling rather than genuine responses to what he'd given them. He'd flown home on impulse, needing to be anywhere but that hotel room, that city, that version of himself that performed on command. The knock came 3 times. Slow, deliberate, not the frantic pounding of fans or the efficient rap of staff. Something else, something that sounded like it came from someone who understood that 3 in the morning was when the masks finally came off. Elvis wiped his face with the back of his hand. He stood up slowly. His body protested. He was 38 years old and felt 60. His knees ached. His back ached. Everything ached in ways that doctors couldn't quite explain and medications couldn't quite fix. He opened the door. Muhammad Ali stood on the threshold. No cameras, no entourage, no handlers or security, or any of the machinery that usually accompanied men at their level of fame. Just the fighter, wearing a simple jacket against the February cold, his hands empty, his famous face showing something Elvis recognized immediately. Exhaustion, so profound it had become a kind of transparency. For a moment, neither man spoke. They just looked at each other. 2 of the most photographed faces in America, meeting without photographers, without performance, without any buffer between what they were and what the world needed them to be. "I'm sorry it's late," Ali said. His voice was quieter than interviews, softer than press conferences, stripped of the playful arrogance he showed cameras. "I need to talk to someone who understands." Elvis stepped aside. "Come in." They walked through the entrance hall without speaking, past the white staircase and the gold records on the walls, and all the physical proof that dreams had been achieved and success had been attained. Ali took in the surroundings but said nothing. He had his own mansions. He had his own proof of achievement. He knew what it meant and what it failed to mean. In the jungle room, they sat facing each other in chairs, separated by maybe 6 feet of space that felt simultaneously vast and intimate. The room was absurd, green shag carpet covering floors and ceiling, Polynesian furniture that looked like it belonged in a theme park, a waterfall built into the wall that burbled quietly in the background. Elvis had decorated it during a manic week, when motion felt like purpose and buying things felt like building something. Now it just felt like proof of something he couldn't name. The television was still playing silently. A different Ali fight now, younger, faster, moving with a grace that seemed to defy physics. Both men glanced at it, then away. Younger versions of themselves, frozen in moments of certainty they could no longer access. "Why'd you come?" Elvis asked. Ali's hands were folded in his lap. Those hands that had moved faster than cameras could capture, that had rebuilt a career after exile, that had struck down every opponent who stood across from him. They were still now, and shaking slightly. Not from age. Ali was only 31, but from something else, from the weight of carrying them. "Because I'm disappearing," Ali said. The words came out quiet but firm, like he'd been practicing them. "Not physically. Inside. I'm becoming what everyone wants me to be, and I can feel myself dying. The real me. Muhammad. He's getting smaller every day, and I don't know how to stop it. And I thought—" He stopped, took a breath, started again. "I thought maybe you'd understand, because I think it's happening to you too." Elvis felt something crack open in his chest. Not painfully. More like a door that had been locked for so long he'd forgotten it was there, and someone had just found the key. "Every day," he said. His voice was rough with emotion he hadn't planned to show. "Every single day, I wake up, and I don't know who I am anymore. I'm Elvis Presley, the legend. Elvis Presley, the brand. Elvis Presley, the thing that generates money and headlines and employment for 50 people who depend on me to keep being what I am. But Elvis? Just Elvis? He disappeared somewhere around 1956, and I've been trying to find him ever since. Ailey nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving Elvis's face. I came back from exile to prove they couldn't break me, and I won. I beat the system that tried to erase me. But now I'm back inside it, and it's eating me alive. The cameras, the expectations, the people who need me to be Ailey the symbol, Ailey the activist, Ailey the fighter who never stops talking. I can't remember the last time someone just needed me to be Muhammad. Just a man. Just a person who gets tired and scared and doesn't have all the answers. On the television, their younger selves performed certainty for a world that demanded it from them. The screen flickered, casting blue light across both their faces. "How do you do it?" Elvis asked. "How do you get up every day and be what they need you to be?" "I don't know anymore," Ali said honestly. "I used to think I was doing it for a cause, for my people, for something bigger than myself. But lately I think I'm just doing it because I don't know how to stop. Because if I'm not Ali the fighter, who am I? What do I have to offer?" Elvis understood. God, how he understood. "I brought you something," Ali said. He reached into a bag Elvis hadn't noticed he was carrying and pulled out a robe, white silk, beautifully made, catching the light from the television. He unfolded it carefully, revealing embroidery across the back. "People's Champion," in red and gold letters, precise and elegant. "I had it made for you," Ali continued, "because that's what we are. That's what we both are. We came from nothing. You from Mississippi, me from Louisville. And we gave people something to believe in, something that said they could be more than their circumstances. That's worth something. That matters, even when it doesn't feel like it does." Elvis took the robe. The silk was cool and smooth in his hands, the weight of it substantial. The embroidery was exquisite, the kind of craftsmanship that spoke of care and intention. It was a gift from one champion to another, an acknowledgement of what they had accomplished and what it had cost them. But holding it, he felt only weight, the weight of being someone's champion, the weight of being everyone's champion, the weight of never being allowed to lose, to fail, to be ordinary. "It's beautiful," Elvis said. His voice was thick. "But I don't know if I deserve this anymore. I don't know if I'm giving people anything worth believing in these days. I'm just taking their money and giving them nostalgia. Same songs in the same order, same moves, same jokes between numbers. I'm a museum exhibit that still breathes. That's not a champion. That's just a man going through motions." Ailey looked at him for a long moment. Something passed across his face. Recognition, maybe, or shared grief. Then he stood up, walked over, and extended his hand. "Stand up," he said. Elvis stood, setting the robe carefully on the chair behind him. Ailey took Elvis's hands in his own. The gesture was strange, intimate, unmasculine by 1973 standards. But it wasn't romantic or even friendly in the conventional sense. It was something more fundamental. It was two people drowning in different oceans, holding on to each other because no one else understood the water. "We're not prisoners," Ali said. His voice carried a strength that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than muscle or will. "We're not trapped. We're just men who did something extraordinary and are trying to figure out how to live with what it cost us. That's not weakness. That's not failure. That's just being human. That's just being honest about what this life takes from you." Elvis felt tears return, hot and unexpected. When was the last time someone had given him permission to be human? When was the last time someone had told him that struggling didn't mean he was weak? "I don't know how to be just human," he whispered. "I've been Elvis Presley for so long I don't remember who Elvis was without the Presley attached. I don't remember what I wanted before I got everything I was supposed to want." "Then maybe that's what we figure out," Ali said. "Not who we were, not who they want us to be. Who we actually are, right now when nobody's watching, when we don't have to perform, when we can just exist." They stood there, hands clasped, Two champions admitting defeat in the only battle that actually mattered. The battle to remain themselves inside the legend that had grown around them. Finally, Ali released his grip. They sat again, and they talked. For 3 hours, they talked. Not about boxing or music or fame, or any of the things that interviews always focused on. They talked about their mothers. Elvis's Gladys, who had died too young, and Ali's Odessa, who worried about her son in ways that cameras never captured. They talked about poverty, about the particular shame of being poor in America, where everyone supposedly has a chance, but some chances are rigged from the start. About faith, Ali's conversion to Islam, Elvis's gospel roots, both of them trying to find God in the chaos of celebrity that seemed designed to make God impossible to hear. You ever feel like you're dying? Ali asked at one point. Not your body, yourself. Like every performance takes a piece of you, and you can't get it back, and one day you'll look inside and there'll be nothing left? Every show, Elvis said. Every single show. I leave a piece of myself on that stage. And I used to think that was the job, that giving pieces away was what made me good at this. But now I'm running out. I don't know how much is left. I don't know what happens when it's all gone. Ali was quiet. Then, what would happen if you stopped? I don't know. I've never stopped. I don't know how to stop. Stopping feels like dying. Me neither, Ali said. But I think about it. I think about just walking away, becoming nobody, living in a small house somewhere, and being Muhammad, who used to be somebody. But then I remember, I don't know how to be nobody. I only know how to be this. And this is killing me. But I don't know what else I am. The confession hung in the air between them. On the television, Ali's younger self was throwing combinations, dancing, talking to cameras with infinite confidence. That guy looks so sure, Ali said, gesturing at the screen. I look at him, and I don't recognize him. Was I ever really that certain? Or was I just better at performing certainty back then? Both, maybe, Elvis said. Maybe we were certain because we didn't know enough to be uncertain. Maybe innocence looks like confidence from the outside. At some point, as dawn approached, Ali asked Elvis to play something. They went to the music room. Elvis sat at the piano, not the grand performance piano, but the upright one he kept in the corner, slightly out of tune, holding memories of nights when music was for himself rather than for audiences who paid to hear it. He played How Great Thou Art, not the performance version with the dramatic crescendos and the gospel choir backing, the way he'd learned it in the Assembly of God Church in Tupelo, when he was small and singing was prayer, not product, when music was the thing that made sense of everything else. Ali listened with his eyes closed. When Elvis finished, when the last note faded into silence, Ali's cheeks were wet with tears he made no effort to hide. That's who you are, Ali said quietly. Not the jumpsuit, not Vegas, not any of it. That right there, that's Elvis. That's the person worth being. Elvis sat at the piano, his hands still resting on the keys, and something inside him broke, not violently, gently, like a door that had been locked for years, finally accepting that someone had the right key. The sky outside was shifting from black to gray, the first hint of dawn touching the Memphis horizon. When Ali stood to leave, "Keep that robe," Ali said, picking it up from where Elvis had left it. He held it out. Not because you're a people's champion, because you're a person. And persons need reminding sometimes that they matter, that what they feel is real, that being tired doesn't make you weak, that admitting you're lost is the first step to finding your way back. They walked to the door together, stood on the threshold where they'd stood hours earlier, as strangers. But they weren't strangers now. They were brothers in a way that had nothing to do with blood and everything to do with recognition. "Thank you," Elvis said, "for coming, for being honest, for seeing me." Ali nodded. "We're the same where it counts. We both know what it costs to be extraordinary. We both need to remember that ordinary is okay too, that being human is enough." They embraced. A real embrace. Not the brief masculine hug that men typically exchanged. The kind that acknowledged pain without trying to fix it. That offered comfort without demanding anything in return. Then Ali was gone, walking down the driveway toward the waiting car, disappearing into the Memphis morning that was just beginning to arrive. Elvis stood in the doorway for a long time. After the tail lights faded, the white robe draped over his arm. People's Champion, embroidered in letters he couldn't see in the dim light but could feel under his fingers. The next night in Vegas, during his performance, something was different. In the middle of an American trilogy, Elvis stopped singing. The band continued playing, uncertain what was happening, but Elvis stepped away from the microphone and looked out at the audience, not performing, just looking, really looking. He saw ordinary people who had paid money they probably couldn't afford for something that gave them hope or joy or distraction or whatever it was they needed from him. He saw them the way Ali had seen him, as human beings carrying their own weight, looking for acknowledgement that the weight was real. When he started singing again, something in his voice had changed. The Las Vegas Sun reviewer noted it the next day. Presley seemed more present last night, more emotionally engaged with the material. They couldn't explain what had shifted, but the audience felt it. The band felt it. Elvis felt it. He kept the robe. Never wore it on stage. It was too personal for that, too meaningful to make part of the performance. But he kept it in his bedroom at Graceland, draped over a chair, where he could see it every morning when he woke up and every night before he slept. On days when the weight felt unbearable, when the schedule demanded more than he thought he could give, he would touch that robe and remember, not the glory, not the triumph, but a night when two tired men had sat in a room and admitted they were scared, when two champions had given each other permission to be human. Muhammad Ali and Elvis Presley never met again after that night. Their lives continued on their separate trajectories. Ali fighting his way through victories and defeats, Elvis performing his way through cities and years, both of them carrying their weight in public while struggling with it in private. When Elvis died in August 1977, Ali was asked by reporters for a comment. He was brief, uncharacteristically quiet for a man known for his words. "He was my friend," Ali said. "We understood each other. That's all I'm going to say about it." Years later, long after Ali's own health had declined, and the Parkinson's disease had robbed him of the physical grace that had defined him, a reporter asked about that night at Graceland. The interview was for a documentary about American icons of the 1970s. Ali's voice was soft, affected by the disease that was slowly taking his ability to speak, but his words were clear and deliberate. "Elvis told me something that night," Ali said. "He said being a champion meant you were always fighting the audience's expectations, fighting your own limitations, fighting the weight of being someone that everyone needed something from. He said maybe the bravest thing a champion could do was admit they were tired, admit they were scared, admit they didn't have all the answers." The reporter asked, "Did you believe him when he said it?" Ali was quiet for a long moment, his hands, those famous hands, trembling slightly in his lap. "I didn't believe him that night," Ali said finally. "I wanted to, but I didn't. I was still too busy trying to be Ali the fighter. It took me another 30 years to understand he was right, that admitting you're tired isn't weakness, it's honesty. And sometimes honesty is the hardest fight you'll ever have, the fight nobody sees, the fight nobody cheers for." The robe remained at Graceland after Elvis's death, preserved as part of the permanent collection, displayed in a case with other significant artifacts from his life. The embroidery was still perfect, the silk still holding its shape. People's Champion. But what the millions of tourists who viewed it couldn't know, what the display card didn't capture, was what that robe actually meant. It wasn't a gift from one famous person to another. It was something more fundamental. It was evidence that for one night, in the early morning hours of February 1973, two exhausted men had found in each other the permission to be human, to be scared, to be tired, to admit that being a champion was lonely and overwhelming, and sometimes more burden than blessing. And in that admission, they had given each other something more valuable than any trophy or title or earthly recognition. They had given each other the gift of being seen. That's the story. Not the legend, not the myth, just two people at the absolute height of fame, admitting that the height was terrifying. Two champions, discovering that the real championship wasn't about winning. It was about surviving with some piece of yourself still intact. Some gifts are objects. Some gifts are moments. The best gifts are the ones that remind you you're human when the world insists you're something else.